How much is it going to cost you to renovate your home? Today, I'm here with interior designer and remodeling expert Francis Toumbakaris with Francis Interiors. And he's going to help us answer some of the big and challenging questions that most of my customers have. Hey, Francis, how are you?
Hi, Sergey. It's so nice to see you. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for taking the time out of your very busy day. I know you're very busy running around and making people's homes pretty. So as I mentioned, my audience, my clientele have these questions all the time when they think about remodeling and renovation, and it becomes this huge headache. They become overwhelmed. Huh?
I don't blame them.
Right? I know. So especially when it comes to Manhattan apartments, and you know, when you're in Manhattan, you're dealing with buildings, management, boards, co-op boards, condo boards, doesn't matter. There's so many restrictions that everybody has to take into consideration. Prices are different here, street restrictions, all this combined, it basically increases the cost, it prolongs the process. And as a matter of fact, well, of course, we have to renovate our apartments to make them look nice and shiny all the time. But the amount of this stress that causes on people is just, it's crazy. So that being said, I know it shouldn't be as overwhelming as people think it is. And the cost is, in my opinion, it's manageable if you keep it under control. And if you have the right designer, contractor, and the team to work with you. That's my experience, but most people don't know this. So that being said, again, the cost factor is the biggest question. So I'm going to start with that, okay? In real estate industry, and generally speaking, when I talk to people, the first thing that comes to their mind is that how much is it going to cost me per square foot? The per square foot is the term that everybody uses. Does it even make sense to go with that? I mean, is it good to spend $100 per square foot for an apartment or a house, even if that's, is it good to spend 150 or 400 or 500? I mean, I've seen a very wide range of prices thrown out there. You tell me, what are we looking at here?
So, of course, in every industry, we quantify prices by creating an average. And it's very true that a price per square foot for interior renovations and or construction is a very valid thing to do. Every company, every firm, every designer, every contractor, they have figured out what possibly their minimum would be based on how they operate. So for Manhattan residents, I think you are looking at least at a minimum of $200 per square foot if you want not to devalue your home, right? The idea is when you renovate is not just to only make things nice, but you want to have some type of return of investment. So I say if you are going to renovate, is to up the level of what already exists there to something better and down the line more sellable. I would like to say that our renovations at the moment, they start at $400 per square foot because usually people like finer things in life and that's what happens. However, I want to give you a different angle on this because at the end of the day, what is really eats up most of the money renovation is kitchens and bathrooms. This is the most expensive thing. So therefore, a small apartment with 3 kitchens and bathroom is not significantly less expensive than a gigantic apartment that still has 3 bathrooms and a kitchen. Did I say 3 kitchens and a bathroom? I meant sorry about that.
It's a Zoom meeting, it's fine.
Yes. So, and another thing to take in mind is the balance between your return of investment versus how do you want to experience your home. The example I always give to someone, do you need a $10,000 shower head? The answer is no, and most probably a $10,000 shower head, this is not something that's going to come back in your pocket. But if you as a homeowner, you live in your shower and you want to feel the Niagara Falls falling on your head, go for the $10,000 shower.
Live in a shower? I mean, how many hours do you spend in there to justify $10,000 shower head?
Oh, I had a client who gave their boyfriend a bathroom renovation as a birthday gift. He's a personal trainer. They take 5 showers a day.
There you go. That
And we
makes
did a
sense.
$10,000 shower head.
Yeah. I would say kitchen is more important. I mean, bathroom is more important for them than kitchen, right? For that particular
Absolutely.
client.
Another thing, here is one thing that most people do not realize. The labor cost is something that you don't necessarily have control of. What a homeowner has control of is the investment they are willing to make when it comes to material. It is very different tiling a bathroom, just the wet walls and the floor, which is a basic renovation. In our bathroom, for example, we always recommend to tile every possible surface for maintenance. It looks much nicer, much prettier. And there is a huge difference working with porcelain and ceramic tile versus marble, which has higher resale value. And also marble is something that it's timeless and classic. It never goes out of style. And in terms of kitchens, the costs can vary based on the quality of the cabinets and the appliances. It's very different working with General Electric and Thermador versus what real estate professionals like to advertise. This is a chef's kitchen with Miele appliances throughout. One package of appliances is $8,000. The other package of appliances could be 40 to 50 based on how many refrigerators, refrigerator columns, and all of that. So, however, a contractor will charge you the same amount of money for a bathroom or a kitchen to install things, unless you are specifying some superfine material, which they need to take in consideration. That's why it is very hard for a general contractor to give a price when a design hasn't taken place. So my advice is, the minute you have found your ideal home and you are signing a contract, that is the time to start thinking about your project. I always say, if you have the ability to bring in some teams in the last viewing of the home and start planning, especially for co-ops, my understanding is that it can take up to 3 months for closing. These are 3 precious months that you can plan your project. Even start ordering material. We had a lot of clients who we ordered kitchens and plumbing fixtures because things from Europe take over 3 months to come. So the timeline is based on the material you choose and when the material is coming from.
That was very helpful. And one thing I just want to add, because I'm looking at the real estate side of things, I think it will make a huge difference too if somebody's buying, because we're talking the cost in general. We're not necessarily talking only for people who want to live in the apartment. So if they're buying a home, could be a house or an apartment. For my suburban friends out there, if you're buying a house as an investment. So in cost that goes into an investment property obviously is not the same as you would put in your primary home. So if you're putting a $10,000 shower head, I would hope you're not going to put that in your rental apartment, because that thing is going to break and you have to replace it. But anyways, of course, there's a wide range of costs. Thank you for explaining all that. That's definitely very helpful. So the next big question that I hear,
since we are talking about price, I think that might be of interest to the audience. Based on our experience right now, a good contractor for a small bathroom, a typical bathroom in Manhattan is usually 5 by 7. It has 3 plumbing points. That means it's a toilet, it's a sink, and it's a bathtub or a shower or a combination. You are looking for labor cost for someone who does really good work, anywhere between $32,000 to $35,000. That would include insurances, licensed plumbers, electricians, demolition, the general conditions, etc. This is just without any material or any design professionals involved. We would like to say that a typical renovation bathroom here in Manhattan, I want to say with a blink of an eye, you are looking at $50,000. For finer things, a lot of our bathrooms are already touching the $100,000 mark point. For kitchens, you are looking, including cabinetry and a small package appliance, between $50,000 to $70,000 on the low end of things. And you can have amazing kitchens that can range all the way up to $350,000.
of course, and I've seen them and they're beautiful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they're work of art.
The value of the home, right? You are not going to put a $350,000 kitchen in $1 million apartment. Just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't make sense.
Yes.
No, as I mentioned, and also could be a rental property. You don't want to spend that kind of money in there.
For me, the starting point when it comes to talking about prices, it starts with the value of the home. We believe that the value of the home is what drives the level of the work and the level of investment that you are going to do. It is very different renovating for a $1.7 million home versus a $7 million home.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's my job actually in the first sit down, to tell people you don't want to outprice yourself, because you're not going to get your money back if you outprice yourself. I mean,
unless it's
yeah.
important to you to experience your home in a certain way. It's like splurging in a handbag. It's important.
Exactly.
Or an expensive car. Not everybody who has an expensive car can justify the expensive car based on their salary, right? But it's something that makes them happy.
Yeah. So I guess you're right. So you look at it in different angle. Is this something you want to think about selling the home in 5 years? You want to make sure you get your money back, or you want to experience the ultimate comfort and this beautiful lifestyle for 5 years, and you don't care if you got the money back for that.
Exactly.
Appointment. Very nice. And so my second question is something you started touching on, is the time frame. Okay. So as you know, I'm based out of Manhattan, and we're dealing with a lot of buildings. I'm sorry?
So am I. And our business, Manhattan is a whole different animal when it comes. So in terms of time, I'd like to say is that there is a difference in time of the overall project versus the construction. We'd like to say if you are renovating 2 bathrooms and a kitchen in a home, you are looking at a minimum of 3 months of construction. What does that mean though? The minute someone swings the hammer, they can only guarantee such a timeline if all of the material and everything they need to construct this new home is readily available. And that is never the case. That's why we always advise start planning the minute you get into contract. Order the things that have long lead times, because if a contractor is ready for the tiles and the tiles are not there, your mortgage is running, the contractor is losing money and is being frustrated, and your project is dragging. So we say 3 months for major construction, something as simple as a kitchen and a bathroom, if the material is there and ready to go. We advise to not start projects unless you have placed all of your orders, unless you are working with things that are literally sitting in a warehouse in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Finer things are never sitting in a warehouse in New Jersey.
No.
So.
No. And you said 3 months for a modest renovation for a kitchen and a bathroom, right?
Yeah, if you want quality work, first of all, what people don't realize, why does it take so long? My bathroom is tiny. Well, guess what? In a 5x7 space, a bathroom requires a carpenter, a contractor to protect the areas. You need a licensed plumber. You need a licensed electrician. You need a glass person for the glass enclosure. You need a tile or a stone specialist if you do stone slabs, and possibly even a mill worker if you do some kind of cabinetry inside the bathroom for storage, etc. So we have 8 people. These 8 people can never be in that tiny bathroom together. Only one person fits. So it's not like you can send an army of people for a small bathroom and knock it off like you watch on HGTV, which is extremely deceiving. So it does take time. And if someone can renovate a bathroom in a week, I'd be a little worried, to be quite honest.
I know. I mean, that's really puts everything into perspective. You never think about this huge team of people who are involved to get something done. And by the way, not to forget, in Manhattan, when you're dealing with buildings, of course, well, there are some permits that you have to get from the city, but on top of everything, you have to get the permit from the management company. And most likely the management has to get the approval from the board of directors of the building. Could be co-op, could be condo. That itself can take a month or 2.
It could take a month or 2. It really is dependent on the building. I can tell you we have had major $1 million renovations where the building was so laxed about it. They knew the contractor, the team, boof, we started the work the next day, and sometimes for a single bathroom you wait for 3 months. There are buildings where the boards do not meet more than once a month, and there are buildings where they meet every week, or if they meet every time they need to approve something. So if I was a homeowner, I'm planning to buy a building. I'd like to know these things. And this is where you come in. Like,
Yes.
how easy is this building to work with if you know that this home needs a renovation? For me, that would be a huge deciding factor, purchasing a home in a building. Like,
Yeah.
if someone would delay my project for 3 months and my mortgage is running, I would strangle them. It's really.
Yeah. And I want to have a quick explanation for our audience outside Manhattan. When we say board, the board is basically the homeowners association. It's the same thing. They manage the building, and we have co-ops in Manhattan, and the co-op boards, as Francis just said, sometimes they only meet once a month. That means you submit your paperwork, which could be a stack of papers, could be like 10, 20 pages. They ask for all the things that you want to do. They most likely will require the plan be included, and sometimes architecture's signatures on some papers. Everything has to be included.
Correct.
You should send it, and the board will review and tell you yes or no. And the yes or no depends on what kind of renovation or remodeling you want to do. So if you're adding a bathroom, for example, that is a complicated remodeling because you're moving plumbing around, and that can affect the entire building. So the board will look at that much more cautiously than, let's say, you want to literally take out the cabinets and put new ones in. It's a completely different remodeling and process. But point being is that there's a process of approval that takes months to get it done. That adds up to the process of actually doing the work. And on top of everything, as Francis said, when you have the actual material, is it coming from Jersey or is it coming from Italy? Makes a huge difference. And you don't want your ship, and if your stuff are on a big ship coming through the Suez Canal, you need to be lucky so the ship doesn't get stuck in there, right? Like it happened a few months ago. So things happen. So Francis, let's move on.
One of the things in lead times for material, I think this would be something very interesting with the audience. Know that polished chrome is something that is always in stock. However, polished chrome is the least expensive and the most standard. Right now, we enjoy a matte black finish. Brass is back, which has this matte golden finish that ages very nicely, and got metal finishes. So special finishes take longer time, even if an item is in stock. Here is the good news. Very often, what's inside the walls is readily available, and what you are waiting on is the decorative part, which is called the trim. So there are ways working around, and that's why it's important to have a design professional, whether it's an interior designer or an architect or a contractor who really knows their craft, to be part of your team early on.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So let's move on to the third question. Basically, sometimes it's just hard to think, how do you start? I mean, you touched on this, how to start the planning, but how about this? Tell us, in a little detail, how's your first meeting go? How does that go? What does that entail? And how do you start the conversation? What do you do when you sit down and talk to people?
Well, first of all, we are an interior design studio that grew the creative services from being general contractors. So we thrive at designing for renovations. But at the end of the day, the very first conversation a design firm is having is, we qualify the client. Is their budget realistic and their expectations realistic? B, is it someone we want to work with, and do they want to work with? And C, we have a series of questions to qualify and gives us inside information of what they want to accomplish. We like to separate someone's budget into two different categories. There is the budget that is set aside for renovation purposes, and is the side that is set aside for furnishings, decor, and art. So it's important for these two things to not be mixed, and that these budgets remain separate. Once we decide to work together, the first meeting, it's just like therapy. My job as a designer is to really understand how the humans that are going to live in that home want to experience their space. What are their everyday habits? How many people will be in the kitchen every morning? Is it important to separate the toilet from the shower wet area so both of the people can use during morning getting ready for work? There is so much going into understanding how a human wants to experience their home that drives all design decisions. And this is something that can start the minute you get into contract, if not before, because that's how design works. And then we solve problems. Design is a constant problem solving. There is never just one answer and there is never a right answer. There are always pros and cons on every possible option. And we do not dictate, we try to present the options and together come to understand what would work best and decide we will sacrifice on this because we want this, or we want this and we will sacrifice on that.
That makes total sense.
Yes.
And how many times do you meet with them before you start drawing everything and putting the design together?
Oh, for us, usually we have one big exploratory meeting. We exchanged images and inspiration images. Most of the time right now, people look at our website and it's like, oh my God, I love the bathroom on your West 13th Street project. Oh, I love your bathroom on the kitchen on the Upper West Side. I love this living room. So we are now part of their inspiration mood board, and we have a reality check. Well, this is a $150,000 bathroom, but you are coming to me with a $75,000 bathroom. This is how I can give you this look for your budget, you know. And we move forward. We survey the space as part of the, we will also advise if we need to bring in external consultants. We are not an architectural firm, but in renovations, when an architect is required, we make them part of the team. We work with several architects here in the city, and based on the project, we make the recommendation and we make them part of our team. If a central layer is needed and allowed in the building, we will also bring in an HVAC specialist and an engineer. That is always required. This is how the process goes. And the first time that we meet the presentation is we lay out the different options of how the floor plan can be laid out, and general mood boards and aesthetic. This is, a black and white bathroom, or this is an all neutral beige lamp with gold accents, or it's a vibrant all white tile but with colorful plumbing fixtures because it's a kid's bathroom that they will grow into it. So there is a lot of going into design. Unfortunately, most of the time when someone is purchasing a home, they really want to talk to a contractor. Like I hear all the time, I just need to talk to a contractor and get some estimates. How can a contractor price your project if you don't have a design? Will you be happy if a contractor tells you $50,000 and another contractor tells you $100,000? Everybody interprets the space differently, right? And a contractor is not a designer. Now, there are many experienced contractors who offer their design input, but it is not the same. When you decide to build a good body and you go to the gym, without proper nutrition, you're not going to have a great body. So it's that kind of combination. Gym and trainer is not enough. You also need to do nutrition. It's the same thing with a home renovation. Contractor is not enough. You always need a design professional.
No, I totally agree with that, because the contractor comes in. And by the way, when it comes to contractors, I've dealt with so many of them.
We are as well.
Say what?
We are as well.
Yeah. So, the contractors price things very differently. They hear Manhattan. Oh, it's Manhattan. The prices go way up.
They do, but you understand why, right? Because a contractor...
No, sometimes it doesn't justify. That's my point. Sometimes it's like from contractor to contractor, you can get a very wide range of prices. And sometimes you just sit there and you're like, how? Why? And
because there is no design. Because there is no design. And when a contractor tells you $7,000 for your countertops, is that marble? Is that quartzite? And is it the quartzite from Israel, or is it the quartzite from Italy? Who's to know?
Yeah, you never know.
Right?
So basically, what you just said, which I totally 100% agree, is that anybody who wants to get into remodeling or renovation of their home, whether that's in Manhattan or anywhere in the world, they have to have the right team. Because, and the right team starts with that one person. Usually I like to start with a designer, because the designers are the aesthetics and
Well, let me go back to interrupt you. If someone is working with you, they are already starting correctly. They have the best possible person on their team, and that is Sergic. And it is very true. It is very true. It all starts with a real estate professional finding an ideal home to hand it over to someone like us to turn it into a dream home. One of the things that I would like to say for your audience is a home renovation and design your home should be a happy, pleasant event. It shouldn't cause any stress. And the reason why you hire a team is to take away all of your headaches, to take away all of your concerns. At the end of the day, in order to afford to live in New York City, you are either very rich from birth, or you need to work very hard to pay that mortgage. Go to work and let us do our work. Yeah. We will present you with what we need to present you, and you just go work so that you can pay the mortgage and devote yourself to your personal life and family. It's when people say I'm going to do this project by myself, I'm like, when? It takes me hundreds of hours to design a renovation. When, if you're working full-time, going to do this? Like, tell me when.
Yeah, and you know, there's always complications in everything. I mean, you will get the wrong, even the screw. I don't know. I mean, then you have—
there are screw missings from every package all the time.
I know. So
and we have a full-time assistant running around finding screws for the stuff that are missing. I mean, it's crazy.
Oh, it is crazy. I mean, if you've done one simple renovation yourself, and I do it myself, like every time I move into an apartment, I do simple sprucing ups per se. It's not a full renovation, but that little simple thing, even if it's a paint or even if I see that the time and the energy that goes into it, literally my work stops probably for days. But one thing people don't realize, I think, is that when you hire a designer and the designer brings a team, that designer also manages the whole project. So the designer is not just this artist who draws this pretty pictures and gives you this, hey, you can have your kitchen like this. The designer, such as yourself that you're sitting here, when you're talking about the team, you will manage that whole team. You will be in charge of when is the plumbing coming, when is the carpenter coming, when is this coming, and something goes wrong, you're in charge of fixing it, not the client. Client will just monitor. You give report. If I'm not wrong, if I'm not mistaken, you just
the trades you just mentioned.
Yeah.
The trades you just mentioned are being managed from the general contractor, and our job as designers is to supervise the general contractor. It's not me who's going to call the electrician, because the electrician is working under the insurance of the general contractor. However, yes, design, the creative and fun aspect of things is anywhere from 20 to 30%. 80 to 70% is project management. This is something that people don't realize. They feel that a designer is this flamboyant professional who runs around with silk pillows and draperies and gonna say, oh my God, your home will be fabulous. Sure, that is a fraction of what we do, and we call it theatrics and excitement. It's really a good interior designer is an amazing project manager first and foremost.
Yes.
People also say, oh, I don't need an interior designer because I have good taste. Well, let me tell you something. Our projects look the way they look because our clients have good taste. In fact, if you don't have good taste, it's very hard for us to work with you, right? So there is a bit of a misconception. If I have good taste, I do not necessarily need a designer. Wrong. We love to working with people who have good taste. Why? Because our job is to elevate that taste even further. And expose you to things you are not even aware of. Plus, you know, there is a difference having designed 100 homes, and there is a difference, this is my first home, and I'll do it by myself. The experience alone, you know.
Absolutely. All right, Francis, I think we're good for today. And thank you again so much for being with us today.
Likewise, thank you so much for having me. I love conversing with you. If there is anything I can do and help any of your buyers, we are always here.
Absolutely. I will make sure to share all your contact information. Hey guys, Francis is very good on social media, so you can find him on Instagram. I will make sure to share his Instagram handle, Facebook, etc., etc. He has an awesome website with his portfolio there that you can go check out. So I will make sure to include all this information on comments on the video. So thanks again, Francis. And for everybody else, feel free to reach out if you have any specific questions. Francis will be happy to answer. If you really want to get into a project to answer your questions, reach out to me or even directly to him to set up an appointment, consultation, whatever that may be. Again, thank you. And yeah, bye. All right.
You know what?
Yeah, that was long. How long was that?
No, that was extremely long. This is not a 3-minute video. This was a conversation. We are both very chatty. This felt more like a live.